You're my life, you're my breath, you're a smile, you're my guest. You're the earth, you're the sun, you're the grass, you are love. You're my hand, you're a bug, you're my eyes, you're a hug. You're the light in the dark, you're the spark, you are fun. You're my mom, you are water, you're the stars, you're my daughter. You're my friend till the end, you're my dreams, you're my father. You're the ants on the ground, the miracles that surround. I'm feeling it all around, the hemisphere in the clouds. You're my pain, you're my sorrow, you're my hope for tomorrow. You're the strength when I'm hollow, you're the path that I follow. You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss. The gift to realize that everything
all
is a
that
gift.
I am, all that I see, all that I've been and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all, for it all. Grateful for it all.
You're the blessings every time I try to count. You're the lessons that I learn every time I turn around. You're the water when I'm burned every time I think I found everything I'm looking for. You're the sign saying stop to take a bow and keep moving forward and start looking towards your heart. It'll open all the doors and only then you'll start to hear the world singing chorus with your mind and heart. Aligned in purpose, everything
All
will feel
that I
gorgeous.
am, all that I see, all that I've been and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. It's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all,
Every day I sit and pray cause what I have is more than I deserve or could ever imagine. How do I give back to all of this magic and spread the love so everybody can have it? Doesn't matter if I'm rich or poor, if I got a family or if I'm all alone. Bad things happen, I can just complain and moan, but there's a million things that I can be grateful for.
so I lift up my hands now, and I open my heart, and my gratitude goes out to everything near and far. All that I am,
Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I look deep down and feel all the blessings. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I look deep down and feel all the blessings. Everything I am and everything I see, everything I hope and everything I dream, everything I feel and everything I be. I'm grateful for it all. It's amazing.
grateful for it all.
You're the blessings that exist, the small things that are bliss, the gift to realize that everything is a gift.
Jewish people all over the world are celebrating Sukkot this week, which is a festival of Thanksgiving. And it is described in Hebrew scripture in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, where there is a list of all of the Jewish festivals, including Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Passover, and how Jewish people are to celebrate them during the year. And when Leviticus, the author of Leviticus, describes Sukkot, he commands Jewish people to build in their backyard a sukkah, or a booth, which is on the bottom right-hand corner. So it's a structure that is open on the roof so that you can see the sky. And so you'll see people will build them, and they have, this one has palm, I think those are palm branches, but, or reeds of some sort, but they'll have palm branches or evergreens or something living, something that comes from nature that you can see up and see the sky and feel connected to the world. And the reason God commands Jewish people to build these booths in Leviticus is because they are to remember the time when they were wandering in the wilderness. So a lot of you probably know the story of Passover, where Jews are led out of slavery in Egypt by Moses, and they go out into the wilderness, and they're in the wilderness for 40 years. They're there long enough that everybody who leaves slavery in Egypt dies. And in fact, it's a whole new generation of people who enter the promised land at the end of that part of the story. And so when they're in the wilderness, they live in these temporary structures, and they're provided food and water every day, just enough by God. And they are commanded to build these booths every year to remember that time in the history of their people, and to remember that what they have in their life is provided as a gift, right? To cultivate gratitude for all that they have received in life. In the same chapter, Jewish people are also told that when they plant their fields, they are to not plow up the entire field, that they should leave wheat all along the edge of the field so that anybody who's hungry can come along and harvest that wheat and be fed. And they're told to do this to remember a time when they didn't have enough to eat, to remember a time when they were in slavery and they didn't have enough to eat, and to allow the gratitude for what they have now to develop into empathy for others and to feed the world. So this sense of gratitude and appreciation for what we have, and the way it grows into empathy for others and a desire to serve others, is at the heart of the Festival of Sukkot, which again is being celebrated this week. It started Sunday night and it goes for the entire week. So if you have a Jewish friend, wish them a happy holiday. And thank you to everybody who is participating today in this Festival of Thanksgiving.
Hi, I'm Amanda Gorman, and this is my poem, The Miracle of Morning. I thought I'd awaken to a world in mourning, heavy clouds crowding, a society storming, but there's something different on this golden morning, something magical in the sunlight, wide and warming. I see a dad with a stroller taking a jog across the street. A bright-eyed girl chases her dog. A grandma on a porch fingers her rosaries. She grins as her young neighbor brings her groceries. While we might feel small, separate, and all alone, our people have never been more closely tethered, because the question isn't if we can weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together. So on this meaningful morn, we mourn and we mend like lights we can't be broken. Even when we bend as one, we will defeat both despair and disease. We stand with healthcare heroes and all employees, with families, libraries, waiters, schools, artists, businesses, restaurants, and hospitals hit hardest. We ignite, not in the light, but in lack thereof. For it is in loss that we truly learn to love. In this chaos, we will discover clarity. In suffering, we must find solidarity. For it's our grief that gives us our gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever shall lose it. So ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give it purpose. Use it. Read children's books. Dance alone to DJ music. Know that this distance will make our hearts grow fonder. From a wave of woes, our world will emerge stronger. We'll observe how the burdens braved by humankind are also the moments that make us humans kind. Let each dawn find us courageous, brought closer, heeding the lights before the fight is over. When this ends, we'll smile sweetly, finally seeing in testing times we became the best of beings.
Good morning. In 2008, Sonia Lyubomirsky, a professor of psychology at the University of California at Riverside, wrote a book called The How of Happiness. In it, she explains that 50% of our happiness level as human beings is determined by genetics. 10% is determined by our current circumstances, and 40% is determined by our internal state of mind. In other words, 40%, nearly half, is influenced by what we choose to do with our time and energy. This 50-10-40 model can be useful in reminding us that we do, in fact, have some control over our happiness. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I've learned a lot about the value of various mindfulness practices the past couple of years. For example, some scientific studies have shown the activities like nature walks, singing with a group of people, decluttering your home or your workspace, meditating, breathing exercises, journaling, and expressing gratitude either aloud or in writing can increase our happiness level on any given day or week. All of these are vital components of my personal human experience. This fall season in chapel, we'll be reflecting on each of these and how such practices might lead to spiritual growth. Our focus for today is a practice that I've been doing for about 5 years, since the beginning of 2018. This practice is gratitude. Studies have shown that an active practice of cultivating gratitude in our lives is the key ingredient to satisfaction and happiness. Perhaps that's why gratitude is an essential component of religious traditions all over the world, and is also part of the positive psychology movement, humanism, and other secular forms of spirituality. There are many forms that gratitude practice can take. I've been journaling since I was 9 years old. And let me tell you, it's hilarious to go back and read my thoughts in middle school and in high school and to see what I actually cared about and what I stressed about. Then it was my way of venting or preserving the big moments. I would write for pages and pages, would take a few months off, and then would write 10 pages more. Today, I do this differently. In December 2020, for example, I wrote a letter of gratitude by hand to someone different every day, and I sent it, like on paper, with a stamp, through the US Postal Service. That exists still, by the way. Some of these people are in this room right now, and I'm still very grateful for you all. And I know you have those notes in your classrooms or at home. More regularly, I take 5 minutes at the end of the day or the next morning to write one simple, positive thing that happened that day. I've been doing this for 5 years, so I have hundreds of just little notes that I've written. It seems simple, and it does become so, but it takes a lot of practice. On some days, especially the celebratory days, for travels and birthdays and holidays, it's super easy to pick something out that was meaningful and memorable. It's not as easy on a random Wednesday in February. What's so powerful about it is that it makes you sit and think about your day, about the people you had a fleeting conversation with, about the little successes you encountered, or about someone who supported you in a moment of sadness or overwhelm. It reminds you that it's really the simple things that add up to make your life story, and that those seemingly mundane moments are what matter. It forces you to reflect, and you'd be surprised. Even on our worst days, and I'll show you an example of that in a minute, you can find something that brought a smile to your face, or proof that it's a miracle we exist at all. If I asked you what you did 3 weeks ago, would you remember? How about 4 months ago? What did you smile about on October 14th, 2011? I can go back and look. I would argue we forget about 80% of our lives. We just remember little flashes. I love this practice because I can flip through to a random day and it immediately takes me back to a calm night in my apartment that only a true introvert would understand, to a casual gathering with a group of friends and a specific laugh we had together, or to a quote that one of you shared with me at the end of a really good lesson. I invite you all to try this yourself, perhaps over the weekend or over the next week. Take 5 minutes and to write down a few moments from the day that you're grateful for. Notice if you feel any differently after an hour or a few days. I'd like to end by sharing some of my specific gratitude moments with you, so I'm being very vulnerable. Moments I otherwise would have most definitely forgotten, and that I take with me every day. I'm grateful for all of them, however small. So here are a few examples from my smile file in the storage cabinet of my life. 2018, March 10th. Seeing where Hemingway used to write, marveling once more inside Notre Dame, and having lunch at a café in Paris on our French exchange. May 13th, singing the Sound of Music soundtrack at the top of my lungs with my sister in her Jeep in downtown Easton. December 2nd, pure happiness is watching It's a Wonderful Life for the first time in December. 2019, May 10th, 11th, waking up to sunlight, taking a walk, sitting on this campus, and admiring the lush green, the stone walls, the weeping birch. I'm truly grateful to work here. June 24th, this blue, warm, clear water in St. Martin, sitting on the beach at night, sand everywhere, not another person in sight, listening to the faint sound of old jazz, taking time to think and gaze up at the stars. It was healing. January 17th, I watched, 2020 now, January 17th, I watched a lot of Outlander today. The perfect remedy when you're sick and stressed, just escape to 1740s Scotland. June 26th, candle lit, rain sounds, reading a few pages of a new book. I'm really grateful for clean spaces, time to read, compromises that lead to healthier relationships, and a good cup of coffee. October 7th, 2020. Another very difficult day, but if there is any positive, it would be that my brother Jeff made it through the night, and I was able to spend a lot of time right next to him, holding his hand, playing some music I know he and I both love, The Strokes, Chet Baker, pigeons playing ping pong. I don't know if he can hear me or not anymore, but I'm glad he knows I'm there. I'm mostly grateful for the lesson and impact he continues to have on me, to live to laugh, to listen to good music, to value time with family, and to turn difficult moments into positives somehow. This ended up being his last day. 2021, February 1st, a snow day, an actual snow day, probably 1 to 2 feet. When's the last time we could jump in that much snow? September 23rd, the sound of rain while I read a new novel and Mike Birbiglia stand-up specials. September 27th, the Cowboys beat the Eagles 41-21. November 11th, God, I love the lines in the carpet right after vacuuming. Anyone? No? Yes? Oh, so satisfying. November 19th, one of my students, Emma Derby, chose to sing a French song for Coffee House tonight. It surprised me and it really warmed my heart. December 3rd, I went up and sang at my very first open mic tonight. I sang Just the Two of Us by Bill Withers and Grover Washington, and now I have a family every Thursday night of musicians. In 2022, May, I celebrated the start of my 30s by having a 1930s themed party. I saw friends I haven't seen in years. We dressed the part, we sang 30s music, and the cupcakes tasted like lavender and lemon. June 3rd, hearing the Moravian chorale sing from the balcony at Baccalaureate really moved me. June 26th, we drove for hours today along the coast from Oregon down to California. I marveled at some of the largest and tallest trees in the world, hundreds and in some cases thousands of years old. It makes you feel so small in the best way, a part of something ancient and bigger than yourself. I set up a blanket and read a guided meditation about exchanging airs with the trees. I breathed in the oxygen from a giant redwood and exhaled carbon dioxide back to it in gratitude. October 3rd, 2022. Today, during a mutual free period, I ended up having an hour-long, in-depth, and very mature chat about films, long-lasting relationships, friendships, what it means to love, with two of my junior students, Quinn and Ginny, over coffee and tea. I had planned to be productive during my free period, but it turned out that that connection outside the classroom with those girls was what I valued most and wanted to remember from today. That's what I want to look back on when I'm old and reflect on my days as a young teacher. I hope this inspires you to find the positives in each of your days ahead. Thank you.
Please join in a responsive reading of Mary Oliver's poem, Gratitude. The dew snail, the low-flying sparrow, the bat on the wind, in the dark, big-chested geese, in the V of sleekest performance, the soft toad, patient in the hot sand, the sweet, hungry ants, the uproar of mice in the empty house, the tin music of the cricket's body, the blouse of the goldenrod. The thrush greeting, the morning, the little bluebirds in their hot box, the salty talk of the wren, then the deep cut of the hour of silence. The oaks, letting down their dark and hairy fruit, the carrot, rising in its elongated waist, the onion, sheet after sheet, curved inward to the pale green wand. At the end of summer, the brassy dust, the almost liquid beauty of the flowers. Then the ferns, scrawled black by the frost. The swallows making their dip and turn over the water. My dog, her energy and exuberance, her willingness, her language beyond all nimbleness of tongue, her recklessness, her loyalty, her sweetness, her long legs, her curled black lip, her snap. Queen Anne's lace with its parsnip root, the everlasting in its bonnets of wool, the kinks and turns of the Tupelo's body, the tall blank banks of sand, the clam clamped down. The sea and its wide shoulders, the sea and its triangles, the sea lying back on its long athlete's spine. What did you think was happening? The green beast of the hummingbird, the eye of the pond, the wet face of the lily, the bright puckered knee of the broken oak, the red tulip of the fox's mouth, the upswing, the downpour, the frayed sleeve of the first snow. With these, the gods shake us from our sleep.
Peace be with you. Let us offer our school prayer together in a spirit of gratitude for all the many gifts of our Moravian Academy community. Take into your hands, O God, the school and each member of it. Make it a place of your own heart. Help us to cast out all that is false and unclean. Give us a true desire to serve one another, that we grow in the days to come, into a wider desire to serve one another, O Lord. Make us lovers of our homes, loyal to our country, and faithful to our church. Grant all of us, young and old, may strive onward toward the perfect unity of Please rise and sing our Moravian Academy alma mater.
Thank you. Good morning. When I was younger, I always imagined that when I grew up, my home would be filled with children. I'd be married and live in a house with a white picket fence, and together my partner and I would have lots and lots of babies. The house would be filled with happy noise, laughter and shouting and sharing, all the things that come with a big family. When it was determined that my husband and I weren't able to have children biologically, we were devastated. Hearing about friends becoming pregnant and seeing babies on commercials and at friend and family gatherings brought us to tears. It was an excruciating time for both of us, and in many ways it was a very private pain. After what seemed like a long mourning period, we had an epiphany. We decided that however it was going to happen, we simply wanted to be parents. So we began to research adoption laws and also contemplated the challenges of adoption in general. We found an agency that allowed the birth mother to choose the adoptive family, and eventually we were chosen by Sherry, a courageous young woman who wasn't ready to be a parent yet. I can call myself a mother because of Sherry. I never did have lots and lots of babies, but we do have one 6'4" tall, 22-year-old, hilarious, always big-hearted, and sometimes infuriating son. And my home did end up being filled with laughter and shouting and sharing, and it still is. Being a parent isn't always easy, but I'm grateful every day that Jack is our family, and our dogs too, of course, who also came to us through adoption. And incidentally, Jack's biological parents ended up getting married, and they live in Arkansas with their 16-year-old son and 14-year-old daughter. We flew down to Arkansas when Jack turned 18 so that he could meet all of them. And now we, and Jack especially, have the gift of this special relationship as well. Your life experiences will vary. You will be able to control some things, and others will be completely out of your realm of influence. What I have learned is that some of the biggest challenges in my life have produced many of my greatest rewards. The wonderful thing about gratitude is that every day, as Mademoiselle said, you have a choice about how to react to challenges, setbacks, and even to joys and triumphs. Your life is yours to aspire to create, and to define. To be grateful may involve letting go of or making peace with the fact that it might not be what you had imagined. Taking that idealized image of what you think life should look like and making it into something that you embrace for what it is. While I don't take my own advice sometimes, I aspire in my life to try to focus on those relationships, experiences, and even the challenges that I am grateful for. And fortunately for me, there are a lot of them. I hope there will be for you too. Thank you.
Buenos dias. Birthdays are an important part of our Moravian tradition, in part because they allow us to celebrate each member of our community and to express our gratitude for all they are and bring. We are grateful today for the following people who each celebrate a birthday between October 14th and October 26th. Feliz cumpleaños a Kanchan Gupta, Ryan Hart, Rigo Terry, Eliza Coolidge, Autumn Nemhart, Jacob Dubois, Cormac McKenna, Danya Anas, Caleb Green, Lauren Pulsini, Mrs. Coverly, Dr. Lawless, and Miss Mendiola. Oremos. Protege a tus hijos, Señor, a medida que aumenten sus días. Bendícelos y guíalos donde quiera que estén, manteniéndolos sin mancha del mundo. Fortalécelos cuando estén de pie, consuélalos cuando estén desanimados o tristes. Levántalos cuando se caigan, y en sus corazones, que tu paz, que sobrepasa todo entendimiento, descanse en ellos y los guíe todos los días de su vida. Amén.
Hi. I was worried. I thought I was going to run out of time. So for those of you who don't know me, hello. Or for those of you who do know me, hi. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Eliza, and I'm a junior here. It's so easy in the hecticness of life to get tunnel vision, forget what matters, and not notice what we could be grateful for. I, for one, used to have a bad habit of complaining, and some say I still do. And while I can't disagree with them, but I think now that I'm older and hopefully wiser, I have the ability to snap myself out of it and open my eyes to the world around me. For example, I used to never notice how nice the sunrise was. I'd only ever be upset about having to wake up so early. I never noticed the birds or the cool morning air, just that I wanted to go back to sleep and that it was cold. Being grateful to me is not just listing the things that serve you, but seeing the things that are all around you, living and existing alongside you. Once you realize that some things aren't able to change, you learn to deal with them and find things to placate the need for comfort. Not all situations are comfortable, but you can always find beauty in experiences and gratitude for the things you might not have noticed before. The plants that produce our air, our bodies, our legs that carry us, our spines, the sun, even those annoying birds at 5 a.m. on the weekends. I'm grateful for them because they let me know that I am not alone, that they live together in tandem with us. Life is short. We will not always be here. We will not always be able to enjoy everything the world has to offer, and we will never get a second or moment back. There are some things that I wish I could go back to, wish that I had lived through more. And though I can try to replicate them, those special moments will forever be in the past. When I remember that one day the birds will sing without me, I'm grateful for the moments that I do have to hear them. Thank whatever you believe in for those precious moments, for shared memories with friends, and for friends who are grateful for you too. It can be quite easy to take these things for granted, so please remind yourself that they mean a lot and to notice them and that they are enough. Thank you.
Do you want to be happier, healthier, and an all-around better person? There's a way that is free, easy, and totally up to you. It's gratitude. Gratitude is much more than saying thanks. It's a way of seeing the world. And with practice, we can train ourselves to feel gratitude more frequently and powerfully. The scientific evidence is clear. Practicing gratitude is good for you and your loved ones. Grateful people get sick less, have healthier hearts, exercise more, get better sleep. Grateful people are more optimistic, overcome adversity better, find greater joy in life. Grateful people are more generous with their time and money, are more forgiving, and build better relationships with loved ones. Just like strengthening muscles, you can build gratitude simply by exercising it. So, how do you develop an attitude of gratitude? Take the first step now. Write a letter to someone you know and tell them why you are grateful for them. Or think about the blessings you may take for granted. or start a gratitude journal at elementofgratitude.org and get serious about becoming more grateful. Thanks for watching.
All right. I would like to start off by saying thank you for this opportunity. It's always fascinated me that we spend so much of our lives searching for the things that in time we realize we had all along. Speaker Dennis Waitley once said, happiness cannot be traveled to, owned, earned, worn, or consumed. Happiness is the experience of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude. That's why opportunities like these, when our school offers us the time to look around and recapture our perspective, is a unique chance to say thank you for what is already yours. I once heard an interesting idea that we only see what we focus on, and not only metaphorically, but literally. So much of our lives is within our peripheral vision. We just need to take a moment to direct our focus to it. Imagine pulling more of what matters into focus and becoming living proof that we don't need to wait until things are gone or things have changed to appreciate who we are and what we have. I think that's why the Roman philosopher Cicero, gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. Because when one can look around and see all that they have, scarcity has to give way to abundance, and fear then becomes hope. It's a reminder that life isn't about the people who make it worth living and the times we spend together. I'm a believer the minutes aren't ticking toward some life-altering grand finale, but each second is a miracle in and of itself. I'm a believer that we are here to evolve, to grow, to test the waters, and to push our limits. Still, I'm also a believer in asking why. It seems to me that the answer is not to obtain some new object, but to share who we are with the world. Not to obsess over what we don't have, but to make the most of what we do. Not to impress or fit in, but to use the passion that burns like fire in our hearts, the curiosity that pushes us toward new horizons, the incredible friends and family by our side, and simply realize that we are, this very moment, embarked upon the adventure of a lifetime. And for that, I will be forever grateful. Thank you.
In the book, The Heart of Understanding, Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh introduces us to something he calls interbeing. He writes, quote, "If you are a poet, you will see clearly that there is a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there will be no rain. Without rain, the trees cannot grow, and without trees, we cannot make paper. The cloud is essential for the paper to exist. If the cloud is not here, the sheet of paper cannot be here either. So we can say that the cloud and the paper inter-are." He calls this state interbeing, or as an action, to interbe. If we look into a sheet of paper, we can see the sunshine in it that enables the forest to grow. We can see the air itself and the people who work to keep it clean enough for the tree to breathe. We see the person who planted the tree, who tended it, who chopped and milled and transported it. We see the people who designed and built the machinery that makes all this possible, who mined the metals and imagined the technology. and all the teachers who taught them, and the food that fed them, and the doctors who made them well when they were sick. Everything, the whole universe, is in a piece of paper. And a piece of paper is because everything else is. Someone at Moravian Academy ordered this piece of paper. Someone stocked it on a shelf. Someone donated money to the school so we would have money to buy it. When I am finished with it, this piece of paper will go in the recycling bin. Someone will pick up that bin and empty it. And this is only a piece of paper. Consider this plate, this perfect clay that has been molded and fired. Who washed and stocked this plate, ready for us to use? Soon, this plate and plates like it will be filled with food. Who prepared this food? Who ordered it? Who drove the truck that brought it here? Who harvested it? Who planted the seeds? When we think of the world this way, it is hard not to be grateful for all the people, all the energy, all the world around us that makes our world possible. And so I invite you in this full minute of silence to consider this plate, or to consider this paper, or to consider any object of your choosing, and to list in your head and to lift up in your heart everything and everyone that you can think of that is with that object, including yourself. Let's be silent together for a minute. You are in the universe, but the universe is also in you, and you inter-are with each person here. Please rise and sing together.
Our benediction is adapted from an Iroquois prayer of thanksgiving. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. Today we have gathered to see the cycles of life continue. We give thanks to our mother, the earth, for the food plants we harvest and the great families of trees, for animal lives and the lessons they teach, for the birds of the air, whose beautiful songs remind us to enjoy and appreciate life. We give thanks for the wind and the rain that renews life, for the light of the sun each day, for the moon that governs the ocean tides and measures time by her changing face, for the stars that guide us home. We give thanks for enlightened teachers who guide us through the ages. When we forget how to live in harmony, they remind us who we are. We give thanks for our Creator, the Great Spirit, who has given us all the gifts of creation. With all the love around us, we gather our minds together as one, and we offer this prayer of thanksgiving. Chapel has ended. Go in gratitude.
It's been a long time coming, seeming like we all been running, feeling like the Wild West gunning, listen to our elders shunning.
Flipping on the news, speed talking, all about our problems, shocking. We put on our headphones, walking. We put on our headphones. Where did we all go wrong? Love, love, la 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 love, 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 la 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 love, 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 la 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 love. Where did we all go wrong? All we see is faces, color. All the other races, other. Why can't you just be my brother? We don't have to kill one another. All around the world, we are one. All around the world, we are one. Where do we all go wrong? Love, love, la 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 love, 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 la 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 love, love, la 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 love. Where do we all go wrong? Love, la 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 love, 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 la 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 love, 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 la 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 love. Where did we all go wrong?
'Cause we got the same blood. Yeah, we got the same blood. But will it be enough? No.
Will it be enough?